The format for today is I'll say a very brief word, then I'll introduce the president of Lynn University, Dr. Kevin Ross, who will say a brief word, and he'll introduce our guest, the mayor of Boca Raton, and a Lynn alum, Susan Haynie, who will get up and say a word. She'll introduce our city council members and dignitaries here, and she will read the proclamation. We'd like to ask you all to please stay around for a moment afterward. We have a special award that we would like to present after the program. You know, it's often said inaccurately that debate, dissent, and disagreement are not healthy or good things for a democracy. That could not be further from the truth. Debate, dissent, and disagreement are essential foundational building blocks of democracy. There's a long tradition of this type of civil debate and civil discourse dating to the great Greek philosophers, the Roman Senate, even our own framers, our own founding fathers embraced this. When they gathered in Philadelphia to frame a constitution, good thing we didn't have Vegas at the time, the odds would have been 1 to 100. They tried to put together a constitution or something of its kind the summer before in Annapolis, Maryland. Only 4 states showed up. They screamed and hollered and walked out on one another. So when they gathered in 1787, it was an uphill battle. The framers assured success by doing one thing at the beginning of that summer. They committed themselves to the principles of civility. That would be cooperation, compromise, consensus, courtesies. And they conducted themselves according to those principles that summer, and against all odds, it worked. The rest, as they say, is history. We at Lynn University are committed to these same principles. You can see it in our core curriculum that the students take, the dialogues. Think about your dialogue readings. What is it if not based on the Socratic method in Socrates' dialogues, the type of teaching that Plato and Aristotle used? Your readings, our students learn about great advocates of civility throughout history, from Gandhi and Thoreau to Sojourner Truth to Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King. We also have a corresponding citizenship program on campus that sends our entire freshman class out into the community for 3 weeks of community service. So we're practicing civility and we're incorporating it into who we are as an institution. That's why we're here today. I think we'd all agree that one of the major threats facing us today, if not the single biggest threat, is the incivility that defines society and our politics. It's not just in Congress. It's in the form of road rage and cyberbullying. It's the vacuous programming on television, the reality TV shows, Desperate Housewives of Boca, and on and on and on. The incivility has reached, I think, crisis proportions. We need to reclaim some degree of civility. So what we're trying to do on campus with this event, with our Project Civitas and our new Civility Club, is we're trying to prepare the students to be civil members of society, and that is to promote things like cooperation, compromise, and consensus. This is how business works. But also here on campus to make sure that our culture as a university is rooted in civility, not just here on campus, but in the community. One of your readings that the students learn about is Mary Robinson, who was the President of Ireland, first female President of Ireland, and High Commissioner for the UN. And Mary Robinson, one of her main, if not her main teaching, was all change must start in the local community. So for that reason, we've invited leaders from our local community here today. Let me just quickly introduce to you some of the folks who have made this project happen. We have a few of our student leaders, if the 3 of you could stand. Javai and Max and Gregory are officers in the club who helped create the Civility Club. Also, Dr. Antonella Reguero and Dr. Alessandra Rosa. And none of it would have been possible without Dr. Katrina Carter-Tellison, our dean, who was the force behind this from the beginning. Dr. Carter-Tellison. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce someone else who has something to do with all this, and that's the president of Lynn University, Dr. Kevin Ross.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. While we're being civil, let me tell you something I can't stand. Following Dr. Watson. It's just not fair. I've got notes and things I've got to look at, and he's just got it all right there. So thank you, Dr. Watson, for putting all this together with your students, with Dean Carter Tellison. I'm thrilled in particular because we have a long-standing tradition and history of civility here at the university. And it's fitting that we're here in the Snyder Sanctuary. This place was built for all of us, our community, and the Snyder family really knew that we needed a place to come together despite our differences, actually because of our differences. Because when we come together and understand one another a little bit more, that's when we really make great progress. And you're not giving up anything, frankly, by listening to someone else's perspective or maybe taking a time to understand where they come from. That's where we really come together as a community, and I think that's what you see throughout our long-standing history at Lynn. You know, in the early days of the university, and I think some of you are first-year students, you probably don't remember me telling you this, but I'm going to say it again. We were founded by nuns, the Religious Sacred Heart of Mary, but they were so universal in their outlook. They started the first Jewish temple here on this campus at this Catholic school. They worked with the migrant workers and their children to run summer camps here. So this place has really always opened its arms to lots of different types of thinkers, lots of different types of people. Not every organization does that. So that's something we want to make sure that we continue to do long after we're all gone. It's just something we do here at Lynn. I think Project Civitas and what Professor Watson had brought today are really quite great. A number of years ago, we had author P.M. Forney who was here. The book was called Choosing Civility. It was actually our first-year reader because at that time, I recall that there was some consternation in the world. People were at odds with one another. This happens from time to time, and we need to take stock and remember that we are still going to be here at our community long after politics come and go, and we need to set some ground rules of how we're going to engage one another. So now we're thrilled to have Project Civitas on our campus, and it is a very valuable and timely program, as Dr. Watson mentioned. We're putting civility back into public discourse is now more important than ever, and it's something we've stood for, so let's let folks know that. Dr. Watson always brings his vast knowledge and respected point of view into our classes and programs, and we are honored to have him as a member of our faculty. And today I'm very excited to give you the scoop, which I've already given to iPulse, that Dr. Watson has been selected to be our 2017 commencement speaker. He is more than qualified to give a talk on civility and where we've come from and where we're going, so we're really looking forward to hearing more about that, as well as the program as it rolls out the rest of this semester and next semester as well. So you heard a moment ago that we believe and continuously promote the importance of exchanging ideas in our dialogues. All those readings that we make you read that you're probably like, oh, why do we have to do this? We hope it sinks in over time. There is a reason that we want everyone to read the same things, to discuss them from your point of view, and to experience certain works so that later on in life you can understand that those things were really, people really worked hard on those, like the Founding Fathers. There was a purpose, there was a plan. And if it doesn't make sense right now, I promise it will. Oftentimes sophomore year, students will come back just and say, oh, now I get it. That's why you made me read that. But you can have a common dialogue, just as we call it, with everybody who goes to Lynn, everybody who went to Lynn, future and past, because you will have the same experiences and you can have your perspective that may be a little bit different from theirs. So I'm really pleased and proud that our campus has always been a beacon for civil discourse. We all come from various different religions and ethnicities and backgrounds, and everyone brings their own unique perspective. And you should. You should see things through your lens and try to understand the lens of others. So we can learn from one another in a manner that is always respectful. And today, we are honored to have our message of cooperation, compromise, and consensus that we engage in here at Lynn spread far beyond the boundaries of our campus. So it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce the Mayor of Boca Raton and College of Boca Raton alumna, Mayor Susan Haynie, who will issue a proclamation.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Susan Haynie, and I'm honored to be the mayor of Boca Raton, and it is such a pleasure to be here. When Dr. Watson reached out to me and asked if the city of Boca Raton could proclaim Civility Month for the month of March, I said I can't think of a better opportunity than especially now. Since we've come off the presidential election, we have a very divided country, and we see it at City Hall. I'm joined here today with Councilmember Robert Weinroth, and I think part of it is just the lack of civility in our country. Some of it trickles down from our leadership, but also I think social media has a lot to do with it. It's unfiltered. It's instantaneous. It doesn't require accountability. And we at City Hall see it on social media every day where people are criticizing us. They have lack of information, and it makes our job just a little bit more difficult. I think this is an amazing initiative for you as young students to certainly change the culture of your class, your university. That can be contagious, and I'm here to proclaim Civility Month so that we can change the culture of our community as well. It's very, very difficult. Once the forms of civility are violated, there remains little hope of return to kindness or decency. And that is such a true statement made by Samuel Johnson. You know, once that gets into you, and as President Ross said, whether it be bullying or disrespect or anti-Semitism or racism or any expression, those are things that are like cancers in us, and they really grow. I have found over the years of public service to find that most people that are angry and are insulting, those individuals generally, it's fear, and that's their motivating factor. And if you can look beyond the fear and take the higher road and try to not let it hurt you, I think it really makes a big difference. You know, we're here as the city embracing you and assisting you in your work here to be civil. You know, our democracy certainly does depend, as Dr. Watson said, on cooperation, compromise, and consensus. We do. We all share this space. We all share this planet. We need to get along. We need to work together, and in that way we can have the power of our voices in one united group, ensuring that we are a civil society. You know, we have a choice of how we behave. Every one of you has a choice how you behave. I as well do. And we're here today to say, let's choose civility. Let's choose it. Let's empower it. Let's have it go viral. Let you change the world with your light and your love. So at this time, I will read the official proclamation. Whereas civility, derived from the Latin words of civitas, meaning city, and civis, meaning citizen, is behavior worthy of citizens living in a community or in common with others. Whereas displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, impatience, a lack of respect, and personal attacks detract from the open exchange of ideas, prevent fair discussion of issues, and can discourage individuals from participation in government. And whereas civility can assist in reaching consensus on diverse issues and allow for mutually respectful ongoing relationships, which can uplift our daily life, making it more pleasant to live in an organized society. And whereas the students and the faculty of Lynn University have joined together in Project Civitas to acknowledge the importance of practicing civility. Now, therefore, I, Susan Haynie, Mayor of the City of Boca Raton, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 2017 as Civility Month in Boca Raton, and call upon all citizens to join Lynn University in their pledge to cooperate, compromise, and seek consensus in public discourse and interaction with each other. Congratulations to all of you. This is a wonderful initiative, and let's embrace it in our entire community. Thank you so much.
Before we run out, a couple quick things at the end. I'd like to give you all an opportunity to talk to Councilman Weinhoff, President Ross, and Mayor Haynie. But now I'd like to ask Dr. Carter Tellison, President Ross, to come up, Dr. Antonella, and then some of the three leaders of our club, Max, Gregory, and Rod. We have two awards. Well, first off, I'm going to hand the Civility Proclamation to my boss. One of the things the Civility Club, Dr. Antonella and I, Dr. Carter Tellison and I, one of the things we've been talking about is a way to make sure civility is a part of the culture of this institution is we want to give regular civility awards, and at the end of every year, honor and recognize those folks who have been leaders in civility. And what a better way to give out our first two awards than to our two dignitaries today. So I'd like to present Dr. Kevin Ross with this award. photos taken. There's a couple of sources that need our photos. So let's all squeeze in. Mayor, President Ross in the middle. Yeah, squeeze in. I'll be on the end. Photo op. Where are we looking? Good. Everyone, on behalf of Mayor Haynie, President Ross, Councilman Wandliffe, I'd like to thank you for coming and invite the students to come up and meet our dignitaries and thank you for your time. Thank you.